On my birthday, my family gave me a gift card to a thrift store. Little did they know I had a surprise for them that would leave them stunned. The thrift store gift card felt like a slap across my face. I sat there frozen as my family's laughter echoed through the upscale restaurant where we gathered for my 30th birthday lunch. My name is Sierra, and this was the moment I decided to destroy my family's perception of me forever. Oh, come on. Lighten up. Ava, my older sister, wiped tears of laughter from her eyes. It's perfect for you and your frugal lifestyle. I forced a smile, gripping the cheap plastic card so hard it dug into my palm. The restaurant's crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, mocking the $10 gift card to Goodwill that lay before me. Thanks, I managed, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. How thoughtful. We just thought, my mother, Bridget, chimed in, adjusting her pearl necklace. Since you're so careful with money, you might appreciate something practical. My brother Lloyd snickered into his champagne glass. Yeah, sis. Now you can buy all the second-hand blazers you want for those investment banking interviews you keep bombing. If they only knew. I'd been living in my modest apartment, driving my used Honda, and wearing thrift store clothes, not because I had to, but because I chose to. Every penny I'd saved over the past 8 years had gone straight into carefully researched investments. While they assumed I was failing at life, I'd built a fortune they couldn't imagine. Speaking of jobs, my father Malcolm interrupted, barely looking up from his phone. Lloyd just closed another major deal at Clayton Corporation. $10 million in revenue. He finally glanced at me. Maybe he could put in a good word for you in their mailroom. More laughter. I took a long sip of water, remembering the notification I'd received that morning about my latest stock portfolio valuation. Actually, I said, setting down my glass, I've been meaning to tell you all something. Oh my God, is that Melissa Chen? Eva practically shrieked, pointing at someone across the restaurant. She was just made partner at Goldman. Let me go say hi. And just like that, I was forgotten again. As my family fawned over Eva's chance encounter with her successful former classmate, Eric, my best friend and the restaurant's manager, caught my eye from across the room. He knew. He was the only one who knew. He approached our table with practiced professionalism. Is everything all right with the meal? Everything's perfect, my mother gushed. We're celebrating Kiara's birthday. Though honestly, at 30, you'd think she'd have more to celebrate than another year of, well, she gestured vaguely at my entire existence. Eric's jaw tightened, but his customer service smile never wavered. Actually, Mrs. Burns, I'd say Sierra has plenty to celebrate. She's one of our most valued. I cut him off with a slight shake of my head. Not yet. The time wasn't right. The food's great, Eric. Thanks, I said quietly. As he walked away, Lloyd's phone buzzed. His face lit up as he read the message. Dad, that acquisition we were worried about at Clayton Corp, looks like it's happening. Some mystery investor bought a controlling stake. My father frowned. That could be trouble, son. Better watch your back. I bit back a smile, thinking about the documents sitting in my home office safe. The signatures were still drying on the papers that would make me Lloyd's boss. Don't worry, I said, standing up and gathering my things. I'm sure everything will work out exactly as it should. Leaving already? My mother asked, disappointed. We haven't even had dessert. Some of us have work tomorrow, I replied, dropping $100 bill on the table for Eric. Thanks for lunch and the gift card. As I walked out, I heard Eva's voice behind me. God, she's so sensitive. It was just a joke. But it wasn't a joke to me. Not anymore. 8 years of careful planning, of living below my means while building an empire in secret, were about to pay off. They thought giving me a thrift store gift card was funny. Wait until they discovered I owned the company that represented everything they valued. I stepped out into the bright afternoon sun, pulling out my phone to call my lawyer. It was time to set things in motion. Happy birthday to me, I whispered, hitting dial. The phone rang twice before connecting. Is it done? I asked. Congratulations, Miss Burns. You're now the majority shareholder of Clayton Corporation. I ended the call and smiled, thinking about the gift card in my purse. It would make a perfect bookmark for the company takeover documents. Let 'em laugh. For now, Eric showed up at my apartment that evening with a bottle of expensive champagne and 2 glasses. I figured you could use a proper birthday celebration after that train wreck of a lunch. I let him in, kicking aside a stack of financial documents I'd been reviewing. My modest one-bedroom apartment was a far cry from my family's mansions, but it had served its purpose, keeping up appearances while I built my fortune. You should have seen their faces after you left, Eric said, popping the cork. Your mother spent 20 minutes explaining to everyone how worried she is about your financial situation. I laughed, accepting a glass. If she only knew I could buy her house 10 times over. Speaking of buying things, Eric settled onto my worn couch. Did everything go through with Clayton Corp, officially as of 2 hours ago? I pulled out my laptop, showing him the confirmation emails. The board doesn't know who I am yet. They just know their new majority shareholder is operating through a holding company. And Lloyd has no idea his big sister is about to become his boss. Eric leaned forward, studying the screen. This is some serious chess you're playing, Kiara. 8 years of planning. I took a sip of champagne. Every time they mocked me for living frugally, every time they dismissed my career choices, I was building toward this. My phone buzzed. A text from Eva. Hope you're not too upset about the gift card. You know we're just trying to help you get your life together. Eric read the message over my shoulder and scoffed. Help you by humiliating you? They've always been like this, I said, tossing the phone aside. Remember when I graduated top of my class in finance? They spent the entire ceremony talking about Lloyd's new promotion. And now you own his company. Eric raised his glass. To karma. The champagne burned going down. It's not just about karma. Tomorrow morning, I'm heading to Clayton Core's headquarters to meet with the board. They're expecting some cutthroat corporate raider. Instead, they're getting the girl everyone underestimated. What's your plan exactly? I pulled out a folder filled with organizational charts and financial projections. Lloyd's department has been hemorrhaging money for years. He's been protected by his connections. But that ends now. I'm going to restructure everything. You're going to fire him? No. I smiled. I'm going to make him earn his position for the first time in his life. My phone rang, my mother's face lighting up the screen. I let it go to voicemail. They're probably planning another intervention, Eric said. Remember the one they staged when you refused to take that job at your father's firm? Best decision I ever made. I stood up and walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. They thought I was crazy for starting at the bottom of a trading firm instead of riding Daddy's coattails, and now you're worth more than all of them combined. Eric joined me at the window. But Kiara, are you sure you want to go through with this? Once you reveal yourself, there's no going back. Watch me. I turned to face him. Tomorrow morning, I'm walking into that boardroom as their new owner. By next week, I'll start implementing changes. And in exactly 1 month, at the quarterly family dinner, I'll tell them everything. Eric's expression turned serious. You know, this won't just hurt Lloyd. Your whole family, my whole family needs a wake-up call. I grabbed the thrift store gift card from my purse and pinned it to my bulletin board. They think success only looks one way. Their way. Time to show them they're wrong. And what about us? Eric asked quietly. After all this goes down. I met his gaze. You're the only one who ever believed in me. That means something. The moment hung between us, heavy with possibility, but my phone buzzed again. An email from Clayton Core's board confirming tomorrow's meeting. I should go, Eric said, gathering his things. You need to rest before tomorrow. At my door, he paused. Just be careful. Okay? Revenge might feel good, but it can consume you. This isn't just about revenge, I replied. It's about justice. And maybe finally, respect. After he left, I stood in my apartment surrounded by the evidence of my secret life, investment reports, corporate documents, and years of careful planning. Tomorrow, everything would change. I touched the gift card on my bulletin board, feeling its cheap plastic under my fingers. Thanks for the motivation, I whispered to my absent family. My phone buzzed one final time, a calendar reminder for tomorrow's board meeting. I set my alarm, laid out my power suit, and smiled. Time to show them who the real Kiara was. I was reviewing acquisition documents in my favorite coffee shop when Ava's shadow fell across my table. My sister's designer heels clicked against the floor as she pulled out a chair uninvited. Funny running into you here, she said. Though nothing about her tone suggested this was a coincidence, especially since this cafe is 20 blocks from your apartment. I closed my laptop slowly. I like their coffee. Cut the act, Kiara. Ava leaned forward, her perfectly manicured nails drumming on the table. I saw you yesterday walking out of Clayton Core's headquarters in a suit that definitely wasn't from Goodwill. My heart raced, but I kept my expression neutral. I had a job interview. Really? She pulled out her phone. Because I called Lloyd, and he said something interesting is happening at work. A mysterious new investor buying up shares. And then I remembered how you've been acting lately. All these secret phone calls. You've been spying on me, protecting the family. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I also called Daddy's friend at the SEC. Did some digging about recent stock purchases. I felt the blood drain from my face. That's confidential information. Nothing's confidential when you have the right connections. Ava's voice dropped to a whisper. What are you playing at, little sister? Trying to hurt Lloyd's career to make yourself feel better. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? She pulled up an email on her phone. According to this, a holding company registered to a P.O. box in Delaware just became Clayton Core's majority shareholder. The same P.O. box linked to several other investment accounts that have been quietly accumulating wealth for years. My coffee went cold as I stared at her. How did you? I'm not as stupid as you think I am. Eva's smile turned predatory. And unlike you, I don't have to hide my success. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to sell those shares, or I'm going to tell everyone exactly what you've been up to. That's blackmail. That's family. She stood up, adjusting her designer bag. You have 24 hours to start the process, or I'm calling a family meeting. And trust me, they won't be happy to learn their charity case has been lying to them all these years. As she turned to leave, I found my voice. You're scared. She froze. Excuse me. You're scared because for once you can't control the narrative. I stood up, matching her height in my own heels. Scared because your little sister might actually be more successful than you. Don't be ridiculous. How's your divorce going, Ava? I watched her flinch. Those assets you've been hiding from your ex-husband, the ones Daddy's been helping you protect, would be a shame if someone leaked that information. Her face went pale. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I packed up my laptop, keeping my voice steady. You go after my investments. I'll go after yours. And unlike you, I have actual proof. This isn't over, she hissed. You're right, it's not. I shouldered my bag. But remember, you threw the first punch with that gift card. Everything that happens next, that's on you. I walked out of the cafe, my hands shaking as I called Eric. She knows, I said when he answered. Ava figured it out. How much does she know? Enough to be dangerous. I flagged down a taxi. But I have leverage. She won't say anything, at least not yet. Sierra, Eric's voice was concerned. Maybe this is a sign to stop. Walk away before what? Before I finally stand up for myself, before I show them who I really am. A long pause. Before someone gets really hurt. They've been hurting me for years. I gave the driver Clayton Core's address. I'm not backing down now. The board meeting to discuss restructuring is in 2 hours. By the time Eva decides what to do, it'll be too late. Where are you going? To do what I should have done years ago. I watched the city blur past my window. I'm going to show my big sister that her connections aren't the only ones that matter. I ended the call and pulled out the board meeting agenda. Item 1. Department Performance Review. Lloyd's Department. Let Ava make her threats. She wasn't the only one who knew how to play this game. And unlike her, I had nothing left to lose. The taxi pulled up to Clayton Core's gleaming tower. As I stepped out, my phone buzzed with a message from Ava. Last chance, little sister. Don't make me destroy you. I typed back 2 words, try harder. Then I straightened my jacket and walked through the revolving doors. Time to show my family what the black sheep could really do. The board meeting was brutal. Through video conference, I watched 12 faces grow increasingly uncomfortable as I outlined the company's inefficiencies, particularly in Lloyd's department. These numbers are concerning, I said, my voice firm despite speaking through a voice modulator. The East Coast division has been operating at a 40% loss for 3 consecutive quarters. But Miss Anonymous Investor, one board member stuttered, that division is headed by Lloyd. He's very well connected. I don't care if he's connected to the president, I cut in. This is business, not a country club. Changes will be implemented immediately. After the meeting, I switched off the secure connection in my private office across town and called Eric. How did it go? He asked. Like watching dominoes fall. I kicked off my heels and stretched. They're terrified of the mysterious new owner. No one suspects it's the girl they've watched struggle for years. My phone buzzed. Ava again. I ignored it. Your sister's not giving up, Eric said. She came by the restaurant asking questions. Let her ask. I've got bigger problems. I pulled up Lloyd's company email on my laptop. My dear brother just sent a complaint to HR about the new ownership. Says the changes are unfair and targeting him specifically. Aren't they? That's not the point. I forwarded the email to my legal team. He's never had to justify his position before. Now he has to actually work for it. My office door opened, and Eric walked in, ending our call. He held up a paper bag. Thought you might need lunch. My hero. I grabbed the bag, pulling out a sandwich. How did you get past security? I know people too, you know. He sat across from me. Your mother called the restaurant again. She's worried about you. Says you're not answering anyone's calls. I'm busy running a company. I took a bite of the sandwich. Besides, what am I supposed to say? Sorry I missed your calls. I was too busy dismantling Lloyd's cushy position. Maybe tell them the truth. I nearly choked. Right. Because they handled Eva's discovery so well. Speaking of Eva, Eric shifted uncomfortably. She's not just asking questions anymore. She's making threats. What kind of threats? She's telling people you're unstable, that you're about to do something desperate because you're jealous of Lloyd's success. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Classic Ava, always trying to control the story. My phone rang, Lloyd this time. Against my better judgment, I answered on speaker, Kiara. His voice was panicked. You have to help me. Everything's falling apart at work. What do you mean? This new investor, they're implementing all these changes. Performance reviews, audit requirements. They're saying my department isn't profitable enough. I caught Eric's eye as I responded. Isn't that just business? You don't understand, Lloyd snapped. I've worked hard to get where I am. Have you? What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I kept my voice neutral. I'm sure you'll figure it out. That's it. That's all you have to say. He was almost shouting now. God, you're useless. No wonder you can't get a real job. I ended the call, my hands shaking with rage. You okay? Eric asked softly. Perfect. I pulled up the company's organizational chart. In fact, I think it's time for phase 2. Lloyd's department needs a complete restructuring, starting with a new direct supervisor. Sierra, don't. I held up my hand. Don't tell me I'm going too far. You heard him. You've seen how they treat me. All of them. Eric stood up, walking to my window. I just don't want you to lose yourself in this revenge plot. I'm not losing myself, I said, starting to type. I'm finally finding myself. My phone buzzed again, a family group text this time. My mother had organized an emergency family dinner for tomorrow night. To discuss Kiara's concerning behavior, she wrote. Perfect timing, I murmured, showing Eric the text. You're not going, are you? Of course, I am. I smiled, pulling up Lloyd's performance review. In fact, I think tomorrow night will be perfect for a few revelations. Be careful, Eric warned. Once you tell them there's no going back. Good. I hit send on the restructuring memo. Because I'm tired of going backward, it's time to move forward. As if on cue, my phone lit up with notifications. The memo had reached Lloyd's department. Tomorrow, he'd walk into work and find his entire world changed. And tomorrow night, at dinner, he'd find out why. I looked at Eric. Want to be my date for a family dinner? He sighed but smiled. Someone has to keep you from burning everything to the ground. Oh, I'm not burning anything, I said, standing up. I'm just finally letting them see the fire. I watched through the security feed as Lloyd stormed into Clayton Core's lobby, his face red with rage. His new supervisor, Sarah, handpicked by me, stood calmly at the reception desk. This is ridiculous. Lloyd slammed a stack of papers down. I'm not filling out performance improvement forms. Do you know who I am? Sarah adjusted her glasses. Your quarterly results speak for themselves, Mr. Burns. The new ownership requires all underperforming divisions to undergo review. Underperforming? Lloyd's voice cracked. I brought in the Anderson account just last month, which lost us money due to poorly negotiated terms, Sarah replied, sliding another form across the desk. The new owner was quite specific about accountability. My office phone rang. Eric, your brother's making quite a scene, he said. Security called me because they know we're friends. They're wondering if they should intervene. Let him dig his own grave. I switched camera views to follow Lloyd's tantrum. How's the restaurant? Busy. Your mother's here with Eva. They're planning something for tonight's dinner. I checked my watch. 6 hours until the family dinner. Any hints about what they're planning? They kept mentioning some kind of intervention, and your father's lawyer was here too. Perfect. They were playing right into my hands. A commotion on the security feed caught my attention. Lloyd was now yelling at his entire team. This is sabotage. He pointed at the performance metrics displayed on their conference room screen. Someone's manipulating these numbers to make me look bad. The numbers are accurate, Sarah said, her calm voice carrying through the feed. Would you like to discuss them with the owner? I can arrange a video call. Lloyd's face went pale. The owner? They're available? Of course. They're very hands-on. Sarah picked up her phone. Shall I connect you now? I reached for my secure line, ready to disguise my voice, but Lloyd backed away. No, that's not necessary. I'll more work on these forms. Wise choice, Sarah said, turning back to her work. I switched off the feed as my personal phone buzzed with a text from Eva. Hope you're ready for tonight. Time to face reality, little sister. Eric's voice came through the office line. You're playing a dangerous game, Sierra. No more dangerous than what they've been playing for years. I started gathering my things. The board meeting's in an hour. Lloyd's performance review is the main agenda item. And after that, I'm going home to change for dinner. I smiled at my reflection in the office window. Time to dress for battle. I'll pick you up at 7, Eric said. Try not to start any wars before then. The board meeting was even better than I'd hoped. Through my anonymous video feed, I watched as Lloyd's performance data was displayed for all to see. The board members shifted uncomfortably as years of preferential treatment and financial losses were laid bare. This can't continue, I said through the modulator. Either he improves dramatically within the next month or we'll need to consider other options. But his father, one board member started. His father isn't the majority shareholder, I cut in. I am. And I expect results, not excuses. After the meeting, I headed home to prepare for dinner. My phone was flooded with messages. From Lloyd, everything's falling apart. Please, I need your help. From Ava, last chance to back down. From Mom, darling, we're also worried about you. From Dad, we need to discuss your recent behavior. I ignored them all and pulled out my dress for the evening. Not the designer labels they expected, but a sharp, powerful suit I'd bought with my own money. My real money. Eric arrived exactly at 7, looking nervous. Ready? Almost. I walked to my bulletin board and unpinned the thrift store gift card, sliding it into my purse. Now I'm ready. Your sister called the restaurant again, he said as we drove. She's convinced you're having some kind of breakdown. Let her think that. I watched the city lights blur past. In about 2 hours, they'll all know exactly how wrong they've been. And then what? I turned to look at him. Then they'll finally see me. The real me. Not their charity case little sister. Not their family disappointment. Just me. We pulled up to the restaurant, an expensive place my father had chosen. Through the window, I could see them already seated. Mom fidgeting with her pearls, Dad checking his phone, Ava whispering urgently, and Lloyd looking like he'd aged 10 years since this morning. Last chance to back out, Eric said softly. I grabbed my purse, feeling the gift card inside. Not a chance. The show's about to begin. Taking Eric's arm, I walked into the restaurant ready to turn my family's world upside down. Kiara darling. What is he doing here? My mother's voice dripped with disdain as Eric pulled out my chair. Eric's my date, I said, smoothing my suit jacket. And a successful restaurant manager, not that you've ever bothered to ask. This is a family matter, Ava snapped. We need to discuss your recent activities. Lloyd hadn't looked up from his whiskey since I arrived. His normally perfectly styled hair was disheveled. His designer shirt wrinkled. Yes. Let's discuss activities. I opened my menu calmly. Like how's work, Lloyd? His head snapped up. You know damn well how work is. Lloyd, my father warned, finally putting down his phone. Not now. We're here to talk about your sister's concerning behavior. The waiter approached, but Eric waved him off, recognizing the tension. My concerning behavior? I laughed. Please enlighten me. My mother reached across the table, her expensive bracelets jingling. Sweetie, Ava told us everything. The secret investments, the suspicious meetings. We're worried you're getting involved in something illegal. Illegal? I pulled out my phone and pulled up my investment portfolio. You mean like these completely legitimate holdings? Or perhaps you're referring to my majority stake in Clayton Corporation. The color drained from Lloyd's face. What did you just say? Oh, didn't Eva tell you that part? I turned to my sister. You seem so well informed about my activities. Surely, you mentioned that detail. This is exactly what we're talking about, my father interrupted. These delusional claims. I slid my phone across the table. Check the numbers, Dad. You're good with numbers, right? That's what you always told me when you were explaining why Lloyd deserved his position more than I deserved a chance. His hand shook as he picked up the phone. This can't be real. Oh, but it is. I pulled out the thrift store gift card and placed it next to my phone. Consider it my return on investment. Stop this, Eva hissed. You're embarrassing yourself. Am I? I turned to Lloyd. How's that performance review going, brother? Sarah seems to think your department needs significant improvement. Lloyd's whiskey glass slammed down. You're behind this. Behind what? My mother asked, looking between us. Lloyd, what's she talking about? The new owner, he whispered. The one who's been holding you accountable, I finished for him. Making you actually work for your success? Yes, that would be me. Eric placed a steady hand on my arm as my father stood up abruptly. This is absurd. I'm calling my lawyer. Sit down, Dad. My voice was steel. Your lawyer can't help. Everything I've done is completely legal. Unlike, say, helping Ava hide assets during her divorce. My mother gasped. Ava's face went white. How dare you? She started. No. How dare you? I leaned forward. How dare all of you treat me like I was nothing, like I was a failure because I didn't follow your path to success. We were trying to help you, my mother pleaded, by mocking me, by giving me thrift store gift cards and laughing about it. I pushed back my chair. Well, guess what? While you were all laughing, I was building something. Something bigger than Lloyd's handed-down position, or Ava's marriage money, or Dad's connections. Kiara, Eric said softly, a warning in his tone. I took a deep breath. You know what the funny thing is? I was going to wait until tomorrow to tell you all, but then you had to stage this little intervention. We're your family, my father said. We have a right to be concerned. Family? I stood up. Family doesn't humiliate each other. Family doesn't dismiss dreams or mock struggles. Family supports each other. I nodded to Eric, who stood with me. Where are you going? My mother asked, panic in her voice. We haven't even ordered. I've lost my appetite. I picked up the gift card. But don't worry. I'm sure Lloyd can tell you all about tomorrow's board meeting. After all, his entire future at Clayton Corp depends on it. You can't do this, Lloyd said, his voice breaking. I already have. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Ava, Those assets you're hiding. The paperwork's already on its way to your ex-husband's lawyer. Consider it a gift from your concerned sister. As Eric and I walked out, I heard my mother burst into tears and my father shouting for the waiter. But for the first time in my life, their reactions didn't matter. You okay? Eric asked as we reached his car. I looked back at the restaurant window where my family sat in shocked disarray. Never better, I said, but tomorrow is going to be even more interesting. The real show was just beginning. The Clayton Court boardroom fell silent as I walked in, heels clicking against the polished floor. Lloyd sat at the far end, his usual confidence replaced by dark circles under his eyes and a wrinkled suit. Good morning, I said, taking my place at the head of the table. No voice modulator today. No hiding behind video calls. Where's the owner? One board member asked, looking around nervously. You're looking at her. I placed my portfolio on the table. I believe proper introductions are in order. Lloyd's chair scraped back. This is a joke. Your quarterly numbers are a joke, I replied, pulling up the performance charts. Shall we discuss them? The boardroom doors burst open. My father stormed in, followed by 2 security guards. Sir, you can't. One guard started. It's fine. I waved them off. Let him stay. He should see this. What have you done? My father's face was red with rage. Do you have any idea what you've done to this family? I've done exactly what you taught us to do. I gestured to an empty chair. Sit down, Dad. Watch your son try to justify his position based on merit alone. Lloyd's hand shook as he shuffled his papers. I have the quarterly reports. We've all seen them, I cut in. They show a systematic failure of leadership, poor decision-making, and a reliance on personal connections rather than business acumen. You can't just. My father started. I can and I will. I stood up, addressing the board. For years, this company has operated on nepotism and favoritism. That ends today. Either departments perform or changes will be made. This is revenge, Lloyd whispered, because we didn't treat you the way you wanted. No. I walked around the table. This is business, something you never had to learn because everything was handed to you. My phone buzzed. A text from Eric. Ava's on her way with your mother. Security called. Perfect, right on cue. The doors flew open again. My mother rushed in, tears streaming down her face with Ava close behind. Stop this madness, my mother pleaded. We can work this out as a family. Family? I laughed. Yesterday, you were staging an intervention because you thought I was delusional. Now you want to work things out? Because we didn't know, Ava started. Exactly. You didn't know. You never bothered to know. I turned back to the board. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this interruption. But perhaps it's illuminating. This is exactly the kind of unprofessional behavior that's been tolerated too long. Hi, Ira. My father's voice dropped dangerously low. If you do this, there's no coming back. Coming back to what? I projected Lloyd's performance metrics onto the wall. To being the family disappointment? To watching Lloyd fail upward while I worked my way from nothing? We gave you everything, my mother cried. You gave me a thrift store gift card for my 30th birthday. I pulled it from my jacket pocket and laughed about it. The board members shifted uncomfortably as my family drama played out before them. Mr. Burns, I addressed Lloyd formally, you have 2 choices. Either step down voluntarily or undergo a 6-month performance improvement plan under direct supervision. Your choice. Lloyd looked at our father, then back at me. You'd really do this to your own brother. You did this to yourself. I sat back down. Your decision. The room held its breath. Eva gripped our mother's arm. Our father's jaw clenched. Finally, Lloyd spoke. I'll take the improvement plan. Good choice. I nodded to Sarah, who started distributing documents. You'll report directly to Sarah starting immediately. Every decision, every deal will require her approval. This isn't over, Ava threatened. Actually, it is. I pressed a button on my phone, and security entered. Please escort my family out. Except for Lloyd, he has paperwork to complete. As they were led away, my mother turned back. Why, Sierra? Why like this? Because you never saw me, I said quietly. Now you have no choice. The doors closed behind them, leaving Lloyd staring at his improvement plan while the board waited for direction. Now, I addressed the room. Shall we discuss actual business? 3 hours later, I stood at my office window watching the city below. Eric knocked softly before entering. Your family's gone, he said. Your mother left crying. Your father's threatening lawsuits, and Ava's already calling her PR team. And Lloyd, still in with Sarah looking shell-shocked. I nodded, fingering the gift card in my pocket. Good. Was it worth it? Eric asked softly. I turned to face him. Ask me tomorrow. But looking at my reflection in the window, standing tall, finally seen, finally respected, I already knew the answer. The price of revenge might be high, but the cost of staying invisible was higher. The autumn wind whipped around me as I stood outside my childhood home, the thrift store gift card heavy in my pocket. Eric squeezed my hand. "You don't have to do this," he said. "Yes, I do." I walked up the familiar steps and rang the doorbell. My mother opened the door, looking smaller somehow. The perfect makeup and jewelry were still there, but something had changed in her eyes. "Kiara." She stepped back. "I didn't expect you to come. You asked me to." I held up her text message. "You said it was important." She led us into the living room where, to my surprise, only Lloyd sat waiting. No sign of Eva or our father. "Where's everyone else?" I asked. "Dad's at his lawyer's office," Lloyd said, his voice lacking its usual arrogance. "Ava's dealing with her divorce proceedings, again." "And you're here because?" "Because I asked him to be," my mother said, sitting down. "Because it's time we talked. Really talked." I stayed standing. "There's nothing left to say." "There's everything left to say," Lloyd interrupted. "Like how I've spent the past 3 weeks actually learning my job for the first time." That caught me off guard. "What?" "Sarah's tough," he admitted. "But she's fair, and she knows more about business operations than I ever bothered to learn." My mother twisted her wedding ring. "We've all been doing some learning lately." "Really?" I pulled out the gift card. "What have you learned?" "That we were cruel," she whispered. "That we were so caught up in our idea of success that we couldn't see yours." "It's a bit late for that realization." "Is it?" Lloyd stood up. "Because I've been reviewing the company's financial reports, actually reviewing them this time. Your leadership has increased profits by 40% in 3 weeks. That's because I actually work for my success." "I know." He ran a hand through his hair. "And I'm starting to understand why you did what you did." Eric, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Understanding isn't the same as changing." "No," my mother agreed. "But it's a start." She pulled out an envelope. "That's why I asked you here." I took the envelope cautiously. Inside was a single photograph, me at my college graduation, standing alone while the family fawned over Lloyd's new promotion. "I found this while cleaning out my desk," she said. "And for the first time, I really saw it. Saw you. Standing there with your honors cords, your achievements, and none of us paying attention." "Mom." My voice cracked. "Let me finish." She stood up, smoothing her skirt. "I can't change the past. We can't undo the hurt we caused, but I can tell you this. I'm proud of you. Not because you outsmarted us all, not because you're successful now, but because you never gave up on yourself even when we gave up on you." Lloyd cleared his throat. "The improvement plan Sarah put me on? I'm actually learning things, real things," and he hesitated. "I'd like to earn my position, for real this time." I looked at Eric, who nodded slightly. "It won't be easy," I said. "Things can't go back to how they were." "We don't want them to," my mother replied. "We want to go forward, if you'll let us." I pulled out the gift card one last time, studying its cheap plastic surface. Then I handed it to my mother. "Keep it," I said, "as a reminder of what we're not going back to." She took it, tears in her eyes. "And what are we going forward to?" "That depends." I sat down finally, Eric beside me. "Are you ready to know the real me? Not the version you wanted me to be, but who I actually am." "Yes," they said in unison. "Then let's start with the truth." I leaned forward. "All of it. No more masks. No more pretending from any of us." Lloyd nodded. "I'll go first. I've been terrified every day at work because I never actually learned how to do my job properly. I've been seeing a therapist," my mother added quietly, "trying to understand why I valued appearances over authenticity for so long." I felt something tight in my chest begin to loosen. "I'm dating Eric, have been for months, and he's been more supportive than this family ever was." The truth hung between us, raw and real and necessary. "So what now?" Lloyd asked. I stood up, pulling Eric with me. "Now we build something new. Something real. But first," I turned to my mother. "I'm hosting a dinner next week. A real one. No pretenses, no showing off. Just honest conversation." "I'd like that," she said softly. As Eric and I left, I felt lighter somehow. The revenge that had driven me for so long was transforming into something else. Not forgiveness exactly, but possibility. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies, but forcing them to grow into better people. And sometimes, in that process, you grow too.